Season 2, Episode 2 of Gold Ball Sports is here. Oh man, couldn't be more excited. Along with Dave Myers and Ken Keller, I'm Scott Shasteen. This is Coffee Pot Week. And here on Gold Ball Sports, even though we cover all sports on all levels, we know when to laser in our focus a little bit. This week, we're going to laser in our focus a little bit on the coffee pot. And we're going to start with a special guest.
Chud, I don't usually use a voicemail, leave a voicemail, but those Tullahoma Wildcats are out. I'm calling them out. Quarterback play is horrible. Offensive line play is horrible. Tackling is horrible at times. No excuse for that last play before the first half. Unbelievable, Judd. No way this team goes 9-1. And I'm calling them. They're out. That quarterback's out. Offensive line play is out. Tackling is out. They need to start over, Judd. That's it. I'm finished. It's over, as Mark Levin would say.
Oh, man. So let's see where to start. Yeah, just make the general statement here, okay? All those sections of Tullahoma football did not have a good game Friday night. It's very true. I believe Stewart's Creek was the best team Tullahoma will face this year. Therefore, I don't put a whole lot of credence into how we looked against Stewart's Creek. I thought they were big, they were fast, they looked like a Murfreesboro team. They are a Murfreesboro team. So I understand the frustration out there. It's one game. Calm down. All right, let's talk high school football. Scores from last week. We're not going to go through all these scores, but we do want to talk just a little bit about what happened last week in high school football. I want to point out a couple to you as you see them there on your screen. Coffee County beat Franklin County 10-7. The Red Raiders had 62 yards of total offense. Not very good. Shelbyville lost to Siegel 55-43. Do the Golden Eagles have some offensive firepower? Yes, they do. Do they have defense? I don't know. We'll see. Not early. It's just one game, right? Just one game. Marshall County beat Columbia 16-0. I'm not sure how negative that is on Columbia. Marshall County's a really good Class 4A team. Columbia new coach. We'll see how that goes for them. Another score that jumped out at me was Page 35, Giles County 34. Page, two-time defending state runner-up, and they beat Giles County by a point. Now, Region 5-5A had a couple of teams that won games, but they were about as unimpressive of wins as you could get. Lawrence County beat Summertown 14-7. Lincoln County beat Richland 28-27. Other than that, the best win for a team around here Friday night was the Moore County Blue Raiders beating Cascade 34-5. So that's some scores from last week. Now let's take a look at some of the games being played this week in high school football. Again, I won't point all these out. I'll try to point you to some that really catch my eye. Of course, Tullahoma at Coffee County, it's the coffee pot. It's a part of the Great American Rivalry Series, United States Marines, and it's always fun. Look at that next one. South Pittsburgh at Franklin County. You may or may not know that South Pittsburgh is just a traditional powerhouse in high school football. Franklin County's in trouble. Columbia goes to Dixon County this week. That's a big rivalry game. Davidson Academy at Lincoln County. Davidson Academy, a little private school in Nashville. I predict they're going to come down and steamroll Lincoln County in the pit. Lawrence County's at Loretto, big rivalry match. Lawrence County usually wins that game. Maybe the second best game of the weekend after the coffee pot, if you want to go watch some high school football in 100 degrees Thursday night, you could go to Lewisburg and watch Shelbyville at Marshall County. That'll be a good test for Shelbyville right there. We'll know a lot more about Shelbyville after that game. And then Mount Pleasant travels to Spring Hill. Mount Pleasant will win that game. Ken, anything step out?
Yeah. You know, Tullahoma's got the Shelbyville Golden Eagles, and you said in the Shastine podcast you thought they would be a lot at stake when Tullahoma plays Shelbyville this year in game number 10. But I'm anxious to see just how they match up and do against Marshall County on Thursday night.
All right. What we saw was a 21-7 win by Stewart's Creek. Ken, 60 seconds on your summary of that game.
Tullahoma, good start. They get a 3-and-out on defense, and they come back and march right down the field, get a big 29-yard TD strike from Bratcher to Johnson, take the lead 7-0. Everything looks great. The best possible start that you can get off to. I thought Tullahoma played a pretty clean first half. Stewart's Creek did bounce back quick and tie the game up with about 5 minutes left in the first quarter, 7-7. But the end of the first half, to me, was the turning point of the game. Certainly, Tullahoma had a 3rd and 2. They had an incomplete pass, but a holding call on Stewart's Creek gave Tullahoma a first down. But then later that drive, they miss on a middle screen. Those are the plays that you've got to execute to win ball games. You play 50 or 60 plays to make 5 or 6 plays count and make a difference. We could have went into the half tied or ahead, possibly with a field goal, and we go 14-7 down when, Otay rips off an 83-yard pass out of the backfield, has a mismatch on one of our corners, and that guy was a load. So, credit Stewart's Creek. Tullahoma fought hard. I saw lots of good positives in the game. Second half, just couldn't get the offense going. I think Tullahoma had a total of about 8 punts in the football game. So certainly struggled offensively, but I did see some flashes. But the team never quit, and they did play hard. Just fell short to a really good football team, 21-7.
All right, let's take a look at that box score from Friday night, because we do have that box score. And the thing that jumps out at me, obviously, is the rushing yards. Stewart's Creek runs for 208 yards. Tullahoma runs for 35. You're never going to win too many games rushing for 35 yards. Tullahoma's passing yards, 155. Total yards, 331 to 190. Look, 170 of those Stewart's Creek rushing yards. Yeah, that's not true. Maybe 150. Came on 2 plays.
Yeah.
And 83 of those passing yards came on 1 play. Mm-hmm. Folks, you got to remember in high school football that one great player makes all the difference in the world when the other team doesn't have somebody who's can match up. It's just the way it is. And I don't see a whole lot of those the rest of the schedule. But Mr. Otay was definitely that guy that Tullahoma just couldn't catch. Just 3 times. What do you think happens if number 8 doesn't play for Stewart's Creek Friday night?
Oh, yeah.
It's a toss-up, isn't it?
Yeah, he scored all 3 of their TDs, yeah.
So let's look at the stats there. Bratcher was 14 of 38. Now, that's unofficial. This is what I did, okay? But I have a lot of confidence in my stats because you're right there with me. We say the play. We say how much yards it gained. We say what yard line it's on, and I write it down.
Yeah.
So if it's wrong, it can't be too wrong. What some statisticians don't do is catch that little shuffle pass. They'll mark it as a run. It's a pass.
Yeah.
Some people had Bratcher like 12 of 36 or whatever. That's why it's 14 of 38. So those shuffle passes, 155 yards. You had a touchdown interception on basically the last play of the game in desperation. You see the rushing yards. Tullahoma couldn't get anything going. Got to run to the right. Run to the right. Run to the right. And in receiving there, I thought Hargrove had a nice second half. Kenai Johnson, great playmaker. And you see what Otay did there. Touched the ball 20 times for basically 250 yards and all 3 touchdowns. So, Otay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We certainly saw some sparks, some flashes in the passing game, though. Bryson Stevenson with an excellent diving catch over the middle early in the contest. We saw Johnson before he went out and missed a large part of the football game. Came back very late in the fourth quarter. I think he had three catches for 50-plus yards. And then Hargrove, defensively, we just didn't call his name a lot. He'd been hampered in the preseason with a hamstring issue, and I think he was, kind of maybe that little mental block in his head. Hey, I can't go full steam, but boy, he sure looked good on that 49-yard catch and run. And Bratcher had really nice deliveries in the pockets on those completions. So, we've just got to get the completion percentage better. And when we've got, short yardage situations in the passing game, maybe not go for the home run every time, maybe check it down. I think they're going to work on that, and that just comes from maturation and playing. But, look, he's the quarterback. I thought he did a good job. But I know he sees areas that he can make improvement. And the same thing with the wide receivers. There were several routes. We don't know if it was, the receivers ran the wrong route or the quarterback thought the receiver's going to do this or that. You have to go back and watch the replay. But I'm sure that the coaches are working hard, and they're getting the quarterback and the wide receivers in sync this week, get them in a rhythm and get that completion percentage up. But look, the quarterback's only as good as the people around him. Everybody has to elevate and step up. That's offensive line. The running game that you alluded to, Scott, they got to get some semblance of a running attack and create balance offensively, and the receivers got to catch the ball when they can.
Tell you a couple of other plays that could have almost worked. Is that middle screen to Denby. A couple of times they had that, just couldn't connect. So let's take a look at the history of the coffee pot. The coffee pot has been played 97 times. This is actually the 98th year. Okay, it's been played 97 times. And I made a mistake on that in a podcast and on last week's show and at the game Friday night. On all of them, I said the 97th. It is the 98th. Tullahoma's won 63 of them. Coffee County's won 32. There have been 2 ties. Add those up, it comes up to 97. Tullahoma's biggest win came under then head coach Creed McClure in 1955. The 10-0-1 Wildcats beat Coffee County 52-6. And a few years ago with Alante Taylor, we remember, I think it was his junior year, Coffee County beat Tullahoma 49-10. That's their biggest win. The most combined points in a game, what a game it was in 2017. That was Alante's senior year. Tullahoma finally, after beating Shelbyville, turned around and beat Coffee County 42-41. The losing streak was over. That was a great coffee pot.
That had to be outside the state championship game at Finley Stadium that we called together. That 42-41 game that we called over in Coffee County was probably the best high school game, one of the best high school games I've ever seen, man. What a contest.
Mainly because we won.
Yeah.
So, 97 coffee pots. And we're just going to take a quick look at the scores because I've heard some contradictions that this is the 99th or the 97th, or they didn't play 1 year because of the war. No, they didn't play 2 years because of the war. You see, in 1924, this thing started. It wasn't a coffee pot. It wasn't even a coffee cup. It wasn't even a sip of coffee. It was just a game between Manchester and Tullahoma. Tullahoma won the first couple 6-0. I want you to notice in the early years how it was basically even for the most part. There was no game in 43 or 44 because of the war. By 45, the war was over. But then Coffee County continues to kind of hold their own in this series till we get to 1982. All right, 1982. You see a nice streak by Coffee County there in the 70s. To get to 1983, I should say, after Coffee County's won 3 in a row in the early 80s. Since then, Tullahoma has absolutely dominated this series. It's about 30-5 since then. So domination historically for Tullahoma in the coffee pot.
Sounds like somebody needs to write a book about the history of Tullahoma Wildcat football.
It almost sounds that way, doesn't it?
Just saying.
All right, so let's talk about this coffee pot, though. This is our coffee pot preview. Tullahoma 0-1, Coffee County 1-0. The Raiders not impressive in their win over Franklin County. Franklin County not expected to be a powerhouse. Tullahoma not impressive offensively in their loss to Stewart's Creek. I thought they were quite impressive defensively. Quite impressive. Other than that one guy, Stewart's Creek doesn't score. I thought Tullahoma was very impressive in special teams. Grant Boom Chadwick had a heck of a night. Boomed a 62-yard punt. Kickoffs were great. The coverage was great. Our punt returner, Johnson, and Hargrove, they did a fine job. Caught the ball when they could, whatever. Kicking game, good. Defense, good. Offense, struggle. Coffee County, on the other hand, offense really struggled. Kicking game, not too bad. They got a 25-yard field goal. Defense held Franklin County to 7 points. It looks like you're just like, wow, who knows? But, and this is opinion-based, based on fact. Look at those historical scores, okay? Coffee County coming off the greatest season in school history. Last year, their 100th year of football. They went 9-3, and they won a playoff game, beat Stewart's Creek. They lost a lot of seniors. History says Coffee County does not come back and have anywhere close to that kind of team this year. History says Tullahoma rebounds from his 4-6 and goes 9-1. Maybe 8-2. But I got to say, I like the Wildcats in this coffee pot. I like them about 24-10 by a couple of touchdowns. Neither one of these offenses is great, so I don't see no high-scoring affair. Could be 13-10. But I just like the Wildcats to win it, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is a matchup. You know, it starts with the quarterback on both sides, and Coffee County has an elite junior named Cole Pippinger. Bratcher's also a junior. Two of these guys, both exceptional baseball players, you know, and they're the leaders of their offenses. So, you know, the defenses are both tough. You know, Coffee County held, gets a win, giving up only a touchdown. Tullahoma's defense, you know, played great except for, you know, Otay's 3 big plays. So I think it's a low-scoring game too, 24-10, as you said. That sounds like a pretty good score prediction. I'm going to make my prediction is going to be that Grant Chadwick attempts field goals this week, and he makes 3 field goals. So I'm going to say Tullahoma's going to win this game. They're going to get 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals, 23 points. And I think Coffee County's going to score 2 touchdowns and miss an extra point. I'm going to say 23-13 Tullahoma wins at Coffee County. And doubles overall series record, Tullahoma 64 wins, Coffee County 32.
Yeah, I said on the Shasteen show that Tullahoma had won 3 out of the 97 games, and that was almost half.
Yeah.
You know, math's not my strong point.
It's 2/3.
Let's throw that poll up there real quick. I sort of skipped that. I want to do this every week. We do the South Central Tennessee High School football poll. Now, this is 5 regions collected together that we take this poll out of. And although some of the Rutherford County schools are included because they're in Region 3-6A with Coffee County, most of these schools don't get a lot of publicity. And that's why we do this poll. They don't get in any polls anywhere.
Yeah.
Unless Tullahoma's undefeated or something might happen. But so this week, number 10, coming in number 10, Cornersville. They won their opening game 43-17 over Webb School. At number 9, Marion County, they're 3A. They're 2A now, 2A team. And they beat East Ridge 41-12. Pretty impressive win for Marion County. Warren County got a win 34-27 over DeKalb County. They're at number 8. Number 7, Lincoln County, where they win over Richland. The only team to stay in the poll despite a loss was Giles County because they played Page so closely. And then at number 5, Coffee County moves up. They were number 7. They move up with their win. Riverdale They weren't even in the preseason poll, and they jump up to number 4 with their 36-0 smashing of Smyrna. Marshall County moves up to number 3 with their 16-0 win over Columbia. Moore County moves up to number 2. Hey, the Raiders drilled Cascade 34-5. They're legitimate number 2 in this poll. And of course, until they lose, Oakland will continue to be number 1, defending state champs, all of that stuff. That's the reason why traditionally we don't put the Rutherford County schools in this poll, because we know that on the field they would be the top 3 or 4 places. We don't do this poll based on how they would match up on the field. We do this poll based on how they matched up against their competition that they're playing. So that's how we try to even that out. So that's a look at the poll for this week. Moore County.
It's a good poll. Yeah, Moore County with a big win, 34-5. I want to go back real quick. I thought you did an exceptional job. Look, it's hard for a coach to interview after a game they lose, and I thought that Coach Sisk had you asked tough questions, okay? And a buzzword that he kept getting back to was execution. I heard that about 3 times in the interview, and he's dead on. You know, we had some tackles where the guys came in high and they slipped off of us. We got to execute tackling better. We got to execute our pass routes, our timing, our rhythm in the passing game better, and sustain some blocks and open up some holes. You talk about that running game. I think Mr. Johnson, number 22 this week, as you said in your podcast, he's going to look a whole lot faster this week against that Coffee County defense, and I think that's a great point.
I think so.
But execution is going to be the key this week. The one thing that you said was, look, I've always heard the most improvement a team makes is between week 1 and 2. We're ready to see that jump this week, and it couldn't come at a better time.
Couldn't come at a better time. The Coffee Pot, Friday night, 7 o'clock from Carden Gerald Field in Manchester. Ken and I will be on LightTube, channel 23. Also on the TUA LightTube YouTube channel, you can listen to the audio live. All right? That's our high school segment. That's our Coffee Pot predictions. Now this. Ooh.
Well, Pigskins pep talk time, right? Yeah, right? So, hey, look, I know, everybody here in this state so excited about Southeastern Conference football. So, we're going to be talking SEC all through the season. That's our hotbed. That's where we're at, located here in the South. And so Dave's going to put a visual up here of some of the top players to look for this year in the SEC. I thought it'd be good. Next week we'll get into predictions. I will make my season picks on the East and the West and the seeding for those teams. Who's going to win the East? Who's going to win the West? 1 through 7 on both sides. But tonight, let's look at the top 10 SEC players. These guys are impact players that you need to know their names because you're going to hear them every week, all year long. This first one out here, ranked number 1, is Harold Perkins. He is a hitting machine, big tackler, wearing Devin White's number with LSU, a legacy number. This guy's a freshman last year, was probably the best linebacker in the entire country. He's coming back to spearhead Brian Kelly's defense. Number 2, Brock Bowers. Scott knows all about him. So does every other team in college football.
Oh, I know all about him.
Yes,
we wore him out last year.
Yeah, the Vols did wear him out. But Brock Bowers, in my opinion, the best tight end on the planet outside of the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce. This guy's a mismatched nightmare for the Georgia Bulldogs. And if a tight end could ever win the Heisman Trophy, this guy right here is one to watch. The best nickname in this top 10, yes, JaQuincy Kool-Aid McKinstry. The best cornerback, one of the best defensive players on Alabama's defense, which is going to be much improved this year. Their secondary was shamed last year, riddled by the Tennessee Vols and a couple of other teams. I look for them to be stronger in the secondary this year. Kool-Aid will end up being, if he doesn't get hurt this year, the highest-ranked cornerback ever picked in the NFL from the Alabama Crimson Tide. The highest number is 9. He could go top 5 with a big year. Number 4 here, Will Rogers, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. He's the first quarterback on our list. 4 guys listed, and he's the first one. Of course, as we talked about, the Pirate is gone. We lost him tragically last year, but I believe this Mississippi State is going to be inspired to play for the memory of the Pirate this year. Mississippi State has a lot of starters back, spearheaded by Will Rogers, who's already broken several SEC records, poised to break more in 2023. Another quarterback here in the SEC West, Jaden Daniels. His first year, last year, he transferred from Arizona State, did a great job. They beat Alabama in Brian Kelly's very first season. If the LSU Tigers have college football playoff aspirations, they're going to do it on the shoulders of Jaden Daniels. Number 6, these next 5 right here. The number 1 returning running back in college football. Yes, he did rush for more yards than Blake Corum. 1,567 yards last year by Quinshawn Judkins. In that Lane Kiffin happy pass attack, is it really a pass? Hey, look, he creates balance, folks. This guy, the leading rusher in college football last year, Ole Miss can run the ball. They can throw it. Judkins, the key to that team. Number 7, Tennessee's favorite son here, Joe Milton. What is he going to do in an encore for Hendon Hooker? Can he hold Nico off? Certainly, the job is his. He is on the Heisman watch. He has been voted by ESPN as the number 1 impact player that could alter the college football playoffs. Joe Milton, we know he's got a big arm. Can he lead the team? Can he check down? Can he keep drives going with short pass completions and be on target? He has the weapons on offense. What is Joe Milton going to do this year? Can he beat the Georgia Bulldogs November the 18th in Knoxville? We're going to see. That's going to be a big matchup, him against Carson Beck. Number 8, another quarterback, South Carolina, Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler, of course, we know what he did last year. All he did was just light it up, beat Clemson and Tennessee at the end of the season, put 63 on Tennessee. Spencer Rattler, the best player on the South Carolina Gamecocks. Defensive-wise, Mikael Williams. When you talk about the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs, 2-time national champion, you got to look at defense. Mikael Williams, the best player on the Georgia Bulldogs defense. He comes back to see if the Dogs can three-peat this year. Last but not least, Rocket Sanders. Rocket Sanders with the Arkansas Razorbacks at number 10. He had 1,443 rush yards last year, did Rocket Sanders. Does the Arkansas Razorbacks. Rocket Sanders at running back, KJ Jefferson at quarterback. Hey, on any given week, watch out for the Arkansas Razorbacks. So that's the top 10 SEC players to watch, Scott. Who stands out to you there and you're looking most forward to looking at? That's probably a stupid question I asked you because I know you're going to be watching number 7. You're going to be watching all these guys.
There are no stupid questions, Ken. There are only stupid people who ask them.
That's right. Yeah.
No, I kid. The first thing, program note, you hear a little hum in the background. We started this show without the air conditioner on. It's just not going to work in this plush Apex Restoration DKI studio. The air conditioner has got to be on today. Yep. Maybe not next week, but today. Yeah, I'll have my eyes on Joe Milton.
Yeah.
I expect Joe to have a great year. I think he's got some great receivers. They got 2 running backs coming back with experience, a lot of experience on the offensive line. This guy's got to dial it back just a little bit. He's a little bit overhyped when he starts a game. We saw it 2-3 years ago. He beat Hendon Hooker out for that starting position at Tennessee. He played the first game and a half, got hurt against Pittsburgh. Hendon Hooker won that job, almost came back and beat the Panthers. So, yeah, a lot of eyes on Joe Milton, but I do like Nico, his backup. I don't feel like we're going to go into the tank if something happens to Big Joe. Now, Big Joe needs to run.
Yeah.
A little bit like Tullahoma's quarterback situation. All these offenses now, your quarterback's got to run. Look at Bryce Young. Look at Alabama's quarterbacks they've had from Tua to Hurd to Bryce Young. All those guys could get out of the pocket, make something happen. Big Joe's got to do that. He hadn't had to do that because he's been playing mop-up for 2 years. Now, in the Vanderbilt game last year and the Orange Bowl against Clemson, Joe Milton got it done big time. But my eyes for 2 weeks going to be on this guy, and this guy, and this guy. We don't have to play these guys anymore.
Yeah.
We beat them last year, but this is what Tennessee season's all about. So, but I love it. SEC top players.
Yeah.
I love it. I put my name on those 10 with you.
These guys are certainly going to be some podium award candidates on season 2 of Gold Ball Sports. And
Probably
now
all go in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and so you got 4 quarterbacks up here. So by design, we'll talk about more next week because there are some quarterback questions, quarterback battles unsettled at other SEC schools, which we'll cover next week. So that covers the top 10 SEC players. Now let's look at some impact freshmen. These are true freshman guys that have just been recruited out of high school that are going to make an impact next season.
Let's take this list quick.
So here we go. So the big point I want to make here, folks, this is why the SEC dominates. There's 22 names on this board. 13 of them are SEC players. And for the sake of time, I'm going to just focus on Alabama and Tennessee. So for let's look at Tennessee first, okay? Arion Carter, right up the road from Smyrna, Tennessee, a linebacker. Tennessee, Josh Heupel won a fierce recruiting battle against Nick Saban, Alabama for Arion Carter, impact freshman, All-American. Watch him at linebacker for the Tennessee Vols this year. Caden Proctor, left tackle for Alabama. Alabama took him out of the state of Iowa. 6'7", 360 pounds. Folks, left tackles normally do not start in the SEC. Caden Proctor is starting for Alabama this year at left tackle. Also a big impact freshman is going to be Caleb Downs right here. This safety right here. Eric Berry comparisons. Alabama fans say Minka Fitzpatrick, but a recruiting guy that I follow said, think Eric Berry. This guy's from the state of Georgia, was the #1 recruit in the state of Georgia. Saban took him away from Kirby Smart.
Well, what I take from that statement right there is what the expert is saying is this guy's a little more physical than Minka was, because Eric Berry was a 220-pound load.
Yes. Yeah.
He was a load.
Yeah, yes. And Downs got good size, 6'1" safety. This guy right here, Texas A&M, got the #1 running back in the nation. Tennessee plays Texas A&M, as does Alabama. Watch out for Reuben Owens. True freshman starting to running back for A&M, #1 in the country. So those are some guys to look for. Scott mentioned Nico Imalalava. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Tennessee fans, correct me. But
you botched Jarrett Guantanamo
I did.
for 4 years. So yeah.
So look, Nico. I call him Nico. Let's go with Nico. Look, Nico, most experts think that he was the top quarterback in the nation. You're right. If Joe Milton struggles, has any problems, or gets hurt, then Nico's in the wings and he's totally capable, very highly ranked quarterback, and he's going to break some records at Tennessee. So there's some top impact freshmen there to look for in the SEC that are. This is nationwide, but 13 of the 22 SEC guys, preseason true freshmen, All-Americans.
What about this guy?
Well, big news for Tennessee in the recruit front. I had to throw this in, talk a little about recruiting. You know, Tennessee won that 5-star battle for Arion Carter over Alabama last year out of Smyrna. They also take Jordan Ross. This guy's an edge rusher out of where? The state of Alabama. 5-star, committed Monday night out of Birmingham, Alabama, just right up the road. This one has to sting Nick Saban, Alabama. Tennessee gets their man at edge rusher. NIL is alive and well, Scott, and that's another 5-star for the Vols.
Just look at the edge rushers that Tennessee has signed in the last couple of years. Phenomenal. Great college football rundown. You know, there are a couple of games this weekend. Notre Dame and Navy kick things off about 1:30. Be interesting to see how this heat and weather affects games. Keep your eyes on social media heading into Friday. Be honest with you guys. There are some teams moving their games to 7:30, 8 o'clock Friday night to try to get out of some of that heat. Keep your eyes on social media. You just follow Go Ball Sports on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. We'll put that out there if we hear anything about that.
And hey, along those lines, y'all, keep an eye on the social medias of Coffee County and Tullahoma, because there's already talk of pushing that game back by about a half an hour as well. So we'll keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, and I would be interested to know, I was going to bring this up in the high school segment, was, I wonder how practices have been impacted at Tullahoma. Certainly, you're not going to be able to go with full pads and gear.
Yep.
You know, this kind
They've
of
been
weather.
practicing from 5:30 to 8:30
At night?
at night. Not yes, at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
at 100 degrees, so yeah.
Well, you know, it actually cools off a little bit, and that heat index cools off enough where they can practice. You know, you can't participate if the heat index is, I believe, 105. You can't even be out there. So the officials, even if the game starts on time Friday night, coffee pot, don't be surprised if, like, once a quarter, the officials have a timeout
Yeah.
where teams just
Water
go get
breaks.
water. We've seen that before in the heat.
Makes perfect sense.
All right, it's time to hand out a little thing we call participation trophies.
Gold Ball Sports, where participation trophies simply don't cut it.
All right, I'll get this thing started tonight on my participation trophy. You know, it's one of my favorite subjects, and it's certainly a subject who consistently fails to reach the expectations of pretty much everyone on planet Earth. I'm talking about Sleepy Joe Biden. And specifically, look at him with his lay on. Joe went to Hawaii this week, Ken. And Joe, rather than expressing his sympathy for the people on Maui and recognizing and talking about the devastation and promising the government would do this and this and this like presidents do at disasters, Sleepy Joe went to Maui and told the folks about the time he almost lost his wife and daughter because of a kitchen fire. Now, 1,000 people or more have died in Maui. And Joe made a joke with them about his little kitchen fire.
Yeah. Very
And when he got out of the Air Force One and got on the ground, you know what he said? He said, "This ground's hot." And then finally, they had a meeting with all the experts to help develop a plan for moving forward in Maui. And here was my man's participation. That right there, Sleepy Joe Biden. He's sound asleep. It's not the first time we've seen him sound asleep at an official function, but it probably won't be the last. Sleepy Joe Biden in Hawaii this week earns my participation trophy. Congratulations, Joe.
Wow, that's serious business. But a worthy candidate based on. I mean, there's just some things you don't joke about. I also heard that he talked about a lightning strike at his house and
That's what caused his kitchen fire.
He was worried about his '67 Corvette and his cat.
Yep.
You know, I mean, those are despicable comments. That's a worthy recipient this week, Scott. Very good. So I'm going to stick to football. And Dave's going to cue up a video here of a pretty good running back for the Titans, but I've got a participation trophy to hand out here.
Tightly packed eye behind him, and he goes to Spears, who has room and leaps over a Viking. That was pretty. 15-10-5 touchdown Tennessee. 33-yard touchdown by Tajay Spears. And he went hurdling everything purple and gold to get there.
Now Lewis Seen coming in late as a safety, and it's going to be a 4 or 5 yard gain if he makes the play. But that's the difference between linebacker and safety. Linebacker, if you miss a tackle, it might be a first down, but as a safety.
All right, what you got?
I'm going to make a motion in my participation trophy. I'm petitioning the NFL to change their name from the National Football League to the Nerf Football League. There it is. There's the new football brandished in. Look, in all seriousness, the NFL needs to cancel their preseason games. None of the stars play. If you watch Lewis Seen, former Georgia safety, come in, that wasn't an excellent leap by Tajay Sharp. The guy took a dive 5 yards before he knew he was going to have contact there. He didn't want to get hurt for the preseason. Look at those guys blocking. Look at those guys titty blocking
eye
up on
behind
the
him.
offensive line. They're just rubbing around and just barely bumping each other. There's powder puff football up there. They're not blocking. They're not trying to hit. They're not even. It's ridiculous. So it's either the National Flag Football League or the Nerf Football League during preseason. Look, these guys know when to turn it on, but look, the fans are getting cheated. The fans are getting cheated during preseason football because these guys are not playing harder. And I say from now on, the NFL is cancel preseason football or let fans in free. That's my participation trophy winner this week.
Good winner. Good winner. However, the fans know exactly what they're getting in preseason now, and they pay to get in because they want to go.
Yeah. That's how most
Patrick
people
Mahomes played last week.
Yeah, that's how most people love football. They love
do.
bad football.
They
It doesn't
do
matter.
love
Any
bad
kind of
football.
football is good. They love bad
I
football.
mean, there's nothing more
Yeah.
grueling for me, and I have to do it because I'm me. But there's nothing more grueling than the
Yeah.
fourth quarter of a preseason football game. It's dreadful, dreadful, dreadful. And it was a pretty good game. It was good to see the Titans win. And let's just go into a little Titan talk here.
All right. Thanks, KNS. As the Titans traveled to Minnesota for the second game of the preseason, 3 questions were on the minds of all of Titans Nation. And in front of a sold-out dome, the Titans at least answered a couple of those. Number 1, how will Malik Willis handle an entire game? The whole game was his. Will Levis was out with injury. Sorry, a little hot. Scott's clapping for that. Number 2, is the offensive line actually good this year? Have we brought in enough guys to bolster up our offensive line? And number 3, is there a legitimate backup to King Henry? But first, we're going to take a look at the teams. The total plays are pretty even, 59 and 58. The Titans were up by 1 on the total plays, and the total yardage, well, they outmanned and outgunned the Vikings, 262, and the Titans had 352. Total passing yards, of course, we're going to look at this a little bit more, as Coach Vrabel was very excited about Malik Willis's performance, and I have to say, based on last year's numbers, this was actually a pretty decent outing for old Malik Willis. So the passing yards are 71, but the Titans held the Vikings to 171 yards passing. Rushing yards, this is the number I like to see out of the Titans, but King Henry was not in the game. 281 yards rushing and 91 yards rushing for the Vikings. Now here's the bad part. Turnovers. We have to do a better job controlling the ball, and of course, we're still talking preseason, folks, so no need to get alarmed. We'll take a look at the players real quick. Malik Willis went 10 of 17 with 71 yards, a touchdown, an interception, but this is huge. Took a Lamar Jackson type approach to the game and got 91 yards on the ground. Julius Chestnut had 13 attempts and 98 yards and a touchdown. Tajay Spears had 7 attempts, 57 yards and a touchdown. A little note for y'all. There are 3 Titans players in the top 10 rushers in the league through the preseason. That is Malik Willis, Julius Chestnut, and Tajay Spears. We have 2 of those in the top 5. Julius Chestnut, I believe, is number 3 on that list at the moment. Tyreek Jones had a total of 7 tackles. Tyreek Jones was a rookie he's a rookie safety out of Boise State. He had a great game. Tajay Spears, again, we have to remember he's a rookie out of Tulane, so they're looking for big things out of him this year. But based on what I've seen, Julius Chestnut's going to be a factor in these games as well. And Caleb Murphy, man, he's coming into this league, rookie from the state of Michigan. I tried to look up what college he was from. I believe he was a walk-on on the team. So Caleb Murphy ended up with 4 total tackles and 2 sacks on the game. And so we're just going to take a look at the bad and the good out of this game. And the bad is there's still no definitive passing quarterback as a backup to Ryan Tannehill. Yes, Malik Willis can offer a different look on offense based on his rushing yards, but there's no real passing quarterback as backup. And Mike Vrabel actually said today that they're done drafting quarterbacks for a while. They feel like they've got their quarterbacks under control. The bad is also 3 fumbles on the game. One of those was turnover, and we recovered the other 2. Kyle Phillips is another bad situation, is out for 3 to 4 weeks. He's going to be a key piece to that wide receiver crew. He has a knee injury, but he's out 3 to 4 weeks. And Malik looked indecisive at times. I've got to say that although he looked good on the ground, his decision-making still has a bit of ways to go. The good. Well, the answer to question number 1, which was how will Malik Willis handle an entire game, was partially answered. Malik showed weakness in his passes, but his run game was undeniable. Question 2. The offensive line, are they good or are they bad? In my mind, was relieved with 3 players over 70 yards on the ground. Question 3. Is there a replacement for King Henry once his reign on the throne is over? I'm going to let you decide for that. Tajay Spears definitely looks like a different type of runner. I think we've got some work to go to catch up to King Henry. The last good part is the defense will be stout this year. All of the pro analyzers are saying the same thing. We're probably going to have a top 5 defense in the league this year, especially adding key pieces like Tyreek Jones and Caleb Murphy and getting our players healthy. Next week, the Titans head into... No. It's at home. The Patriots come in on Sunday, the 25th at 7:15 p.m. We'll see how these Titans handle the Patriots. However, it looks fairly decent. I'm not going to crown them a top 10 team just yet, but it looks like they're going to have a better season than a lot of guys are predicting. So that is the Titans recap for you. And back to you, Scott and Ken.
If you want to crown them, crown them. Right, who's that?
Remember the
If
Titans.
you want to crown, no, who's that did that? Arizona Cardinals coach, Dennis
Green.
Green.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
If you want to crown them, crown their ass.
Yeah, that's what he said. And he was speaking of the Chicago Bears, I think, when they played them on a Monday night game, wasn't it? Or after they beat them on a Monday night game. They
He
won
said,
yeah.
we had them and we let them off the hook.
That's right. Yeah.
We had them,
Yeah.
we let them off the hook.
Good
Good stuff, Dave. Nice stuff.
You know,
Nice Titans round up there.
certainly we know the Titans need to give Derrick Henry some depth. And I think Tajay Hall and then Chestnut behind him. A good change.
Chestnut is a preseason hero, isn't he?
Yeah.
This guy
I
comes
love
out
his name.
every preseason
Yeah.
and looks great. And then when he gets the ball in a regular season game, it's 2-yard loss.
Yeah. It's not wins the records every year for the hot dog eating contest. It's
Not Joey.
Yeah, but look, a good change of pace with Tajay there. But again, we don't have Malik Willis is not going to be the starting quarterback. Thank God we do have a throwing quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, and he's going to have a good year this year. And he's got some weapons out there because he's got a pretty good receiver that came in the offseason.
There we go. Just to let you all know, next week we are going to have a new segment on the show, Dave's Dandy Dozen. We're going to take a look at the top 12 power rankings. That's going to kind of be the segment that I'll pull in. I love NFL football. I'm a stats nut on NFL football, so we're going to have our own power rankings, not ESPN's, which they botched. But we'll get to that next.
Dandy Dave's. Or Dave's Dandy Dozen. So the top 12 NFL teams every week, which it's fluid, it'll change. That's cool.
So every week on Gold Ball Sports, you get a high school football poll. Mm-hmm. You're going to get Ken Keller talking college football with his rankings, his SEC predictions, all that sort of thing. And Dave lock it all in with some NFL talk.
Yeah, baby.
And then wherever else we go, we go. It's debate night. But I'll not be watching the debate. I'll be watching Tucker. But before we get out of here with a special coffee pot edition of Gold Ball Sports, I do want to remind you that we are live on Facebook at Gold Ball Sports, 6 o'clock Wednesday night. But you can watch the show anytime, as many times as you want on Facebook. Now, the day after the show, tomorrow, Dave will put that baby on YouTube. Then you can go to Gold Ball Sports on YouTube. Watch it on your TV if you like. That's where that's nice. And we're now on Twitter at Gold Ball Sports. So you can find us those 3 platforms at Gold Ball Sports. It's time for the 2-minute warning, and we start with Dave.
All right, now I'm going to turn my microphone on and say what I wanted to say. Here's an open letter. Dear high school athlete, I want to apologize to you on behalf of the fans of the sport that you play. Unlike those fans who can't seem to mature into adulthood trying to relive their glory days, you're actually trying to live yours. I apologize that whenever you give your best effort, giving all your blood, sweat, and tears for a team, you had no hand in choosing who you'd play for. There are grown men and women airing out their opinions online to each other and possibly even you. I apologize because you're still a child. You're not chosen by a coach or paid to play. You're trying to enjoy the game you love. All the while, there's an underlying pressure of what will be said upon a less than perfect game. I apologize because you need to hear it. I apologize because they're not mature enough to do it. And I apologize because we need to know our roles. So play the game that you love. Don't pay attention to anything other than your personal effort and supporting your team. We should do better. We will do better. Signed, a dad of a high school athlete. And so, as I mentioned, without the mic, there were a couple of players that have heard some things going around. And we have to remember that these are still just kids who are growing. And so we need to do a better job of what we say and realize that these kids are maturing and they're doing their best. And to that, again, I'm done before my time is up. So it's back to y'all.
Nice. We're gonna cut that previous part out of the finished product there. You won't even know it happened when you rewatch the show. Nice one, Dave. Good one, Dave.
Very good.
Good lesson, especially good talk to the young men and women who play high school sports. Ken?
Oh, so I'm up. Okay, so my 2-minute warning is going to start out with a video. So, Dave, if you can cue that up.
Davey Ordonez, this is what he does.
Show that another
Davey
time, Dave.
Ordonez,
Look at this.
This is what he does.
Okay, folks, so this is Davey Ordonez. Davey? This right here, young man, is a hitting stick. Something that you don't know anything about. You're squatting down and really usurping the spirit of the game. So I'm going to talk about cheat codes a little bit, okay? Don't cheat the game. Don't violate the integrity of the game. Coaches, coach your players to play by the rules at all levels. Players, play by the rules. Umpires, don't pick a team or side. Referees, when you're calling a game, call it the way you see it. It doesn't matter if it's red. It doesn't matter if it's blue. Play for the love of the game, but play it fair, okay? So when I was growing up on Bel Air Drive, we used to play stickball or wiffle ball or baseball bat on tennis ball, okay? And so what we did was I used to mimic when I got in the batter's box, I used to mimic some of my favorite players. One of them was Pete Rose. Pete would get like this and crouch down just about like this, but Pete had 4,192 hits. Davey, you need to watch some of his videos. Another guy I love watching off the Big Red Machine, Joe Morgan. Joe used to flap that left arm, 2 quick flaps before the ball got there. And I'm not even going to do Pop Stargell. Young guys, y'all look that up. But look, you're not going to hit the ball squatting down like that. And in a society of cheating, dominion, with an election coming up, no way a certain person got 87 million votes. Don't cheat, folks. Play by the rules.
I like it.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
like it.
You just had to finish that thing off, didn't you?
At the buzzer.
At the buzzer, throws in a shot. Well, all right, start the clock. My 2-minute warning is going to be a little bit anti what Dave talked about. Not concerning the kids, okay? I'm not talking to the kids. I'm not talking about the kids. I'm talking about the rivalry between Tullahoma and Coffee County. I'm talking about the coffee pot. I'm encouraging you to get out there and talk shit every chance you get this week about your team winning the coffee pot. I know Manchester people and Tullahoma people work together at the base, work together here, work together there, and people like to talk. So I'm encouraging that. Talk it up where you work. Get that interest going. Get that stuff going. You won't hesitate to talk up a Tennessee-Alabama game all week. Why would you hesitate to talk up a Tullahoma-Coffee County game? Don't talk about the kids. You can talk about the team as a team. Don't talk about the kids individually. I personally don't care if you talk about the coaches. You pay the coach's salary, so you really legitimately are entitled to weigh in on what you think of the coaching job, in my opinion. I don't mind people going on the message boards that's out there. It's CoachT.com. Everybody, all high school football fans know about Coach T. That's where the message boards are. That's where some of y'all have gone in and complained about Tullahoma's coaching. That's all right. You can complain about all kind of things, but don't go in there talking about this kid or that kid. It's going to kill them, all this stuff. I'm with Dave on that. Wrong, bad, wrong. But if you're grown up talking about grown-ups and you're talking smack about a coffee pot football game, I like it. Like it a lot. Let's do more of it.
Good job.
That's my 2-minute warning for you.
That's good job, guys. Yeah.
Everybody got a 2-minute warning in. It is so hot in the Apex Restoration DKI studios, but we're going to get better. We're going to get the studio better. The show's always improving. Remember, Facebook, X, I keep saying Twitter, it's going to take a while, X, and YouTube at Gold Ball Sports. That's it. It's simple to find us. We'd love to hear your feedback on anything that we've said. Put it out there. We want you to.
Subscribe to us on YouTube as well.
Yes, click those buttons, whether it's a like,
please,
or follow, or subscribe. All the different things have different buttons. Click them all when you visit.
And engage us on X. We'll communicate with you. We'll answer your questions. We'll give you our opinions, and we want yours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's going to do it for this edition of Gold Ball Sports. Season 2, Episode 2 is in the can. For Dave Myers and Ken Keller, I'm Scott Chastain. Be good to each other.